Good morning, everyone. This, as you can see, is an unpasteurized service. And my name is Jim Schley, I think you all know. And I'm just going to begin with this. You'll see why. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaf's a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief, so dawn goes down to day, nothing gold can stay. If you're looking for a poem to memorize, that's a beauty. It'll stay in your head. So I'm wearing my Nature's first green is gold shirt. This is almost that color, where it's just about yellow. And as always with frost, there's a kind of precision about the observation. It's not only a metaphor. It's also so carefully observed. And today we're going to have a conversation between the music of the Introit church musicians and some poems I've chosen in celebration of our swiftly ephemeral season of spring. So in addition to the announcements in the bulletin, does anyone have any other announcements to make?
This is a little bit of a,
It's a
strange announcement, verging on inappropriate. But the color green was actually the color of a prostitute. I think before we took it as a spring color. So green sleeves, which you know as What Child Is This, was originally about a woman with green sleeves. I think we have another green song today. Oh, the ones that we did already. Anyway, happy spring, happy fertility, happy green.
Well, and you also might think about Mary Magdalene, who was an outcast and who was welcomed in. No other announcements. So let's listen together to the Prelude, again by the Introit church musicians, and we're so happy to have you here today. This, it's often said that a kitchen that has the yeast that bakes good bread always bakes good bread. The yeast is in the air, and in some ways this church was made for music. And these instruments sound so beautiful here. you join me in reading the blessing and lighting of the peace candle? One change I'd like to suggest, we had a little bold-faced mishap, it appears. I'd like all of us to read the third line. So I'll read the first line, you'll read the second in boldface, and let's read the third line together. On earth is life, and this life is the light of the world. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. Let us work for peace and the things that make for peace as we light the peace candle. I see poetry lovers among us, so there's no special apology needed, but some people, when they hear the word poetry, flee. And one of the things I've long felt is if you place poems in the setting of a concert, the song that a poem is becomes readily apparent. So you'll hear some, as I said before, conversing, both with the music and with the season. And I'm going to start with a little song from Henry IV, Part 1. So this is Shakespeare, Renaissance piece like many of the pieces that you're hearing. And a little bit naughty. It was a lover and his lass, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no, that o'er the green cornfield did pass. In springtime, the only pretty ring time, when birds do sing, hey ding-a-ding, ding, sweet lovers love the spring, between the acres of the rye, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no, these pretty country folks would lie in springtime. And the next one is a poem called Spring by Gerard Manley Hopkins, who was a very earthy Jesuit priest. Nothing is so beautiful as spring, when weeds and wheels shoot long and lovely and lush. Thrush's eggs look low heavens, and thrush through the echoing timber does so rinse and ring the ear it strikes like lightnings to hear him sing. The glassy pear tree leaves and blooms, they brush the descending blue. That blue is all in a rush with richness, the racing lambs too have fair their fling. What is all this juice and all this joy? A strain of the earth's sweet being in the beginning in Eden garden. Have, get, before it cloy, before it cloud, Christ, Lord, and sour with sinning, innocent mind, and Mayday in girl and boy. Most, O maid's child, thy choice and worthy the winning. And thirdly, this is a song it's called Spring Song. It's a poem by the African-American poet Paul Laurence Dunbar. A bluebell springs upon the ledge, a lark sits singing in the hedge. Sweet perfumes scent the balmy air, and life is brimming everywhere. What lark and breeze and bluebird sing in spring, spring, spring. No more the air is sharp and cold. The planter wends across the wold, and glad beneath the shining sky we wander forth, my love and I, and ever in our hearts doth ring the song of spring, spring. For life is life, and love is love, twixt maid and man, and dove. Life may be short, life may be long, but love will come, and to its song shall this refrain forever cling of spring, spring, spring. So now let's sing together. This is going to be from the Methodist hymnal, which is the bright red hymnal, number 707, Hymn of Promise. We don't have children today, and we still have children's time. And you'll see, this is a book, some of you may know, Henry Hikes to Fitchburg, which features a bear, and a number of us in Strafford are having fresh encounters with bears or seeing evidence of their passing through. But this bear bears a strong resemblance to Henry David Thoreau, as you'll see. This is a book by D.B. Johnson, who lives in West Lebanon. So there's another nice touch. And you'll see it has a penetrating message for grown-ups as well. And this comes from a little exchange, an anecdote in Thoreau's writings about a conversation he had with one of his friends. This is Henry. Here's his friend. One summer day, Henry and his friend decided to go to Fitchburg to see the country. "I'll walk," said Henry. "It's the fastest way to travel." "I'll work," Henry's friend said, "until I have the money to buy a ticket to ride the train to Fitchburg. We'll see who gets there first. Now, the grown-up knows what's going to happen. There's a wink. His friend waved. "Enjoy your walk," he said. Henry walked down the road to Fitchburg. "Enjoy your work," he called back. So they set off in their two routes. Henry's friend filled the woodbox in Mrs. Alcott's kitchen, 10 cents. Henry hopped from rock to rock across the Sudbury River, and carrying, of course, all his gear and his clothes. His friend swept out the post office, 5 cents. Henry carved a walking stick, 25 miles to Fitchburg. Henry's friend pulled all the weeds in Mr. Hawthorne's garden, 15 cents. Henry put ferns and flowers in a book and pressed them. His friend painted the fence in front of the courthouse, 10 cents. Henry walked on stone walls. By now, a young listener would have realized that the friend has made no progress. Henry's friend moved the bookcases in Mr. Emerson's study, 15 cents. Henry climbed a tree, 18 miles to Fitchburg. His friend carried water to the cows grazing in the grass in town, 5 cents. Henry made a raft and paddled up the Nashua River. Henry's friend cleaned out Mrs. Thoreau's chicken house, 10 cents. Henry crossed a swamp and found a bird's nest in the grass, 12 miles to Fitchburg. His friend carried flour from the mill to the village baker, 20 cents. Henry found a honey tree. Henry's friend ran to the train station to buy his ticket to Fitchburg, 90 cents. Henry jumped into a pond, 7 miles to Fitchburg. His friend sat on the train in a tangle of people. Henry ate his way through a blackberry patch. Henry's friend got off the train at Fitchburg Station just as the sun was setting. Henry took a shortcut, 1 mile to Fitchburg. His friend was sitting in the moonlight when Henry arrived. The train was faster, he said. Henry took a small pail from his pack. "I know," he smiled. "I stopped for blackberries." So, you decide who got there faster. Let's see, I'm looking at my cheat sheet. It's musicians again. Thank you.
Sing cuckoo now, 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 sing. There is a coming in, and we sing cuckoo now, sing. We see the coming now, sing. Summer is a-coming now, sing, sing, now, sing. Summer is a-coming now, summer
So having introduced you to Henry David Thoreau, I'm going to read a couple of passages this is from Walden, from his essay called Spring. And one of the amazing things is the exactitude with which Thoreau observed the world around him, so much so that his journals, which are now in the Harvard Library archives, climate scientists are using them to note differences in blooming dates, ice melting dates, bird arrival dates, because he some might say obsessively, but he would say with great concentration noted everything around him. So this is a passage, not quite at the beginning. He begins with a very interesting close observation, but this is a more ruminative passage. One attraction in coming to the woods to live was that I should have leisure and opportunity to see the spring come in. You think of that bear taking the slow route to Fitchburg. The ice in the pond at length begins to be honeycombed, and I can set my heel in it as I walk. Fogs and rains and warmer suns are gradually melting the snow. The days have grown sensibly longer, and I see how I shall get through the winter without adding to my woodpile, for large fires are no longer necessary. I am on the alert for first signs of spring, to hear the chance note of some arriving bird or the striped squirrel's chirp, for his stores must be now nearly exhausted, or see the woodchuck venture out of his winter quarters. On the 13th of March, after I had heard the bluebird, song sparrow, and redwing, the ice was still nearly a foot thick. As the weather grew warmer, it was not sensibly worn away by the water, nor broken up and floated off as in rivers. But though it was completely melted for half a rod in width about the shore, the middle was merely honeycombed and saturated with water, so that you could put your foot through it when 6 inches thick. But by the next evening, perhaps, after a warm rain followed by fog, it would have wholly disappeared, all gone off with the fog, spirited away. One year I went across the middle only 5 days before it disappeared entirely. In 1845, Walden was first completely open on the 1st of April. In 46, the 25th of March. In 47, the 8th of April. In 51, the 28th of March. In 52, the 18th of April. In 53, the 23rd of March. In 54, about the 7th of April. And then another passage from a little later in the essay. Ere long, not only on these banks, but on every hill and plain and in every hollow, the frost comes out of the ground like a dormant quadruped from its burrow, and seeks the sea with music, or migrates to other climes and clouds. Thaw, with his gentle persuasion, is more powerful than Thor with his hammer. The one melts, the other but breaks in pieces. When the ground was partially bare of snow and a few warm days had dried its surface somewhat, it was pleasant to compare the first tender signs of the infant year just peeping forth with the stately beauty of the withered vegetation which had withstood the winter. Life everlasting, goldenrods, pinweeds, and graceful wild grasses, more obvious and interesting frequently than in summer even, as if their beauty was not ripe till then. Even cottongrass, cattails, mullens, johnswort, hardhack, meadowsweet, and other strong-stemmed plants, those unexhausted granaries which entertain the earliest birds. Decent weeds, at least, which widowed nature wears. I am particularly attracted by the arching and sheaf-like top of the wool grass. It brings back the summer to our winter memories and is among the forms which art loves to copy, and which, in the vegetable kingdom, have the same relation to types already in the mind of man that astronomy has. It is an antique style, older than Greek or Egyptian. Many of the phenomena of winter are suggestive of an inexpressible tenderness and fragile delicacy. We are accustomed to hear this king described as a rude and boisterous tyrant, but with the gentleness of a lover, he adorns the tresses of summer. At the approach of spring, the red squirrels got under my house, 2 at a time, directly under my feet as I sat reading or writing, and kept up the queerest chuckling and chirruping and vocal pirouetting and gurgling sounds that ever were heard. And when I stamped, they only chirruped the louder, as if past all fear and respect in their mad pranks, defying humanity to stop them. No, you don't, chicory, chicory. They were wholly deaf to my arguments, or failed to perceive their force, and fell into a strain of invective that was irresistible. The first sparrow of spring, the year beginning with younger hope than ever, the faint, silvery warblings heard over the partially bare and moist fields from the bluebird, the song sparrow, and the redwing, as if the last flakes of winter tinkled as they fell. What at such a time are histories, chronologies, traditions, and all written revelations? The brooks sing carols and glees to the spring. The marsh hawk, sailing low over the meadow, is already seeking the first slimy life that awakes. The sinking sound of melting snow is heard in all dells, and the ice dissolves apace in the ponds. The grass flames up on the hillsides like a spring fire. Et primitus conter herba imbribus primoribus evocata, as if the earth sent forth an inward heat to greet the returning sun. Not yellow, but green is the color of its flame, the symbol of perpetual youth, the grass blade, like a long green ribbon, streams from the sod into the summer, checked indeed by the frost, but anon pushing on again, lifting its spear of last year's hay with the fresh life below. It grows as steadily as the rill oozes out of the ground. It is almost identical with that, for in the growing days of June, when the rills are dry, the grass blades are their channels, and from year to year the herds drink it, this perennial green stream, and the mower draws from it betimes their winter supply. So our human life but dies down to its root, and still puts forth its green blade to eternity.
So I'll just do the intro, and we'll do 3 times.
Time
I'm going to depart just for a moment before we do Joys and Concerns and read another poem that's a response. It's a flower poem by Mary Oliver called Trilliums. Every spring, among the ambiguities of childhood, the hillsides grew white with the white trilliums. I believed the world. Oh, I wanted to be easy in the peopled kingdoms, to take my place there, but there was none that I could find shaped like me. So I entered through the tender buds. I crossed the cold creek, my backbone and my thin white shoulders unfolding and stretching. From the time of snowmelt, when the creek roared and the mud slid off and the seeds cracked, I listened to the earth talk, the root wrangle, the arguments of energy, the dreams lying just under the surface, then rising, becoming at the last moment flaring and luminous, the patient parable of every spring and hillside, year after difficult year. Some rainbow coming from the fair, some vision of the world's Kashmir, I confidently see, or else a peacock's purple train, feather by feather, on the plain fritters itself away. The dreamy butterflies bestir, lethargic pools resume the whir of last year's sundered tune. From some old fortress in the sun, baronial bees march one by one in murmuring platitude, in murmuring platoon. I was breathless. The robins stand as thick today as flakes of snow stood yesterday. On fence and roof and twig, the orchis binds her feather on for her old lover, Don the sun, revisiting the bog. Without commander, countless, still, the regiments of wood and hill in bright detachment stand. Behold, whose multitudes are these? The children of whose turbaned seas, or what Circassian land? So let's take a few minutes for just being here together in silence. Thank you. I'll remind you that we are, as always, taking offertory donations either in the basket in the back or on the church's website. Gifts of any size are, of course, welcome. And I'm going to read a benediction poem, and then we'll have a postlude, so please stay for the musicians will come back to the stage and we'll end with music. But this is a poem by Ada Limon, who is our current poet laureate of the nation. Instructions on not giving up. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabapple tree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs, shoving their cotton candy colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains. It's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath, the leaves come, patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us, a return to this strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the tree seems to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all. Thank you so much, the Cantor Church musicians, and to all of you for joining us. And go forth into your day with a spring in your step.